So you're thinking about moving to Ankeny, Iowa. Well, in this video, we're going to talk about the negative things about Ankeny. Look, let's be honest, no city is perfect, and Ankeny is definitely not perfect. So you're going to want to stick around to the end. I'm going to talk about what I think are the worst things about Ankeny at the very end, so you're going to want to stick around for that. So let's get into it right now. So Ankeny is a very popular city in the Des Moines area. And because of that, it's one of the fastest growing. Waukee is a little bit faster growing right now, but Ankeny is the largest. For a lot of good reasons. They've got great schools. Well, let's not get into that. That's for another video. Or you can watch some other ones for all the positives. So because it's one of the fastest growing areas and lots of people are moving here, that can create some issues like traffic and congestion and construction. And all those are issues that Ankeny struggles with. So because it's growing so fast, you're putting neighborhoods out kind of further out there. Those areas are not as developed as they should be. So, and people are moving there, and then the roads are not right, so they have construction. It's called urban sprawl or suburban sprawl. And it's definitely an issue in Ankeny. So you're going to need to drive a little further to get to the places that you want to be, like restaurants and grocery stores and things like that. Ankeny is not doing horrible at that. Even on the very north side of Ankeny, you've got, Costco and Hy-Vee and Fairway and grocery stores, but the restaurants and things like that, you're going to end up going a little bit further to get to those. And some people say that, you have to drive to West Des Moines or the Jordan Creek Mall to get what you want. And that may be the case. So definitely suburban sprawl is an issue. It kind of leads me to another issue is traffic. A lot of people say that the traffic in Ankeny is horrible. Horrible is kind of a strong word if you ask me. But look, if you're on Delaware Avenue and during rush hour, yeah, there's going to be some slowdowns. If they're doing construction, there's going to be some slowdowns. Some people say the reason is not really the traffic, it's the way that they've got the lights set. I personally don't think it's really that bad, but if you get on some of these websites and on Facebook, there are a lot of people who disagree with me. So that is a complaint. Traffic can be bad, so that's a negative. Another one of the things that some people talk about being a negative in Ankeny is that it's kind of hoity-toity or uppity, cliquish. Those are the words that I've heard said. And I guess, maybe that is the case in some areas, but I don't get that feel personally. But I mention it here because a lot of people do mention that it is that way. And so maybe it is, but I just wanted to mention that because that is something that a lot of people mention. The other thing is that, we live on the prairie. Iowa is mostly a big prairie. We've got some rolling hills and it's beautiful here in Iowa, but it is mostly flat and therefore it gets really windy. These last couple of days have been extremely windy. On my back porch, I live in the country, so on my back porch, I've got a walkout basement, so it's kind of high on the back deck. I've got some really heavy, nice chairs back there that were blowing around. It was so windy. My siding actually hums when the wind blows. So look, the wind blows here and it's very windy here. I was out making a video the other day, and maybe you have watched my videos, maybe you haven't, but I use a little selfie stick, and my phone, I couldn't hold it still. The wind was blowing so hard. I use this little microphone so you don't hear the wind as much as it really howls, but wow, it was really howling. So yes, that is also a negative. The wind every once in a while is super windy here. So yeah, that's a negative too. So another one of the negatives is high property taxes. Look, I get it. Property taxes are paying for great schools and parks and great city facilities. But, when the taxes are high, that can sting a bit. And they are high. The other thing I want to say about that is that if you are moving to this area and want to be in this area, you're going to pay those same high taxes in any of the other small cities in the suburb of Des Moines. Like if you're going to go to Waukee or Urbandale or Grimes or Johnston or West Des Moines, all those areas, you're going to pay about the same property taxes, within about $1,000 a year for a $375,000 home, which is kind of average for a new construction home in this area. So anyway, look, property taxes are high. It's not Chicago high property taxes, but it's also not small town Iowa low property taxes. So it can sting a bit, and property taxes are high. So that's definitely a negative. So anyway, if you're still thinking about moving here, none of this stuff scared you away, then give me a call. My contact information will be in the description. I'd love to help you make a smooth move to the Ankeny area, or maybe anywhere else in the Des Moines area. So another one of the things that I hear a lot is that it's boring. Look, we don't have a professional sports team, so and we don't have the crazy nightlife. And so if you're coming from a place like Chicago or Minneapolis and you're looking for the downtown hustle or the big time, you're not going to find that here. So here's the thing about that, though. That's what a lot of people like about this area. I mean, Ankeny itself was voted one of the best places to raise a young family. It's because of the peaceful, wonderful, calm atmosphere here. But if you're coming from a large city, or you're coming from a place maybe anywhere, and you expect, like if you're coming from a large city and expect the same thing here, you're not going to find it. If you're coming from a smaller town and looking for a really nice nightlife or big town vibe, you're just not going to find that. It's very peaceful, very calm, and a lot of people would call that boring, especially some of the younger kids. They, if they grew up here, they're going to be like, oh, it's so boring, I'm moving out as soon as I get out of here. And they do, and a lot of times they come back. So anyway, yeah, so that's one of the biggest things. A lot of people say it's boring here. The things to do here, check out my other videos, but the things to do that I like, biking, disc golf, farmers markets, free music in the parks and things like that. Those things are peaceful, family friendly type things, and I think they're great, but a lot of people might call that boring. Well, okay, it's boring, so that could be a negative. And so the biggest negative about living right here in Ankeny, it's what I say about the biggest negative about all of Iowa is it's the weather. Let's be honest, the winters here are brutal. We're talking negative wind chills that make your face hurt. Speaking of that, I've told this story before, but I'm going to tell it again. So when I first came here, it was negative wind chill. The wind was really blowing, and I needed something in my truck. So I got all dressed up. I had long johns, and I got my big coat, and I got gloves, and I got the hat, and I went out to my truck, and I got what I needed. I don't remember what it was I was looking for, but it only took a few minutes, and I had a hat, but it didn't cover my ears all the way, and I didn't have one of those, I don't know what you call those. I didn't have anything to cover my face and my ears, and I thought I would be fine. And it was only a couple of minutes, and I came back. I swear it felt like my ears were going to fall off. If I touched them, I thought they were going to break. So that's how cold it can get. Is it like that all the time? No, it's not. And look, it's beautiful. The snow is really beautiful until you have to shovel the snow 3 times in a week to get your car out on the driveway. So look, if you're coming from a warmer climate, that can be a really big shock. I came here a while back from Louisiana, so it was a shock to me, but I love the cold, and it's brutally hot down there. But anyway, if you're coming here from a warmer climate and you think that's not going to be a big deal, let me tell you something. It is a big deal, and I guess the only thing good I can say about that is it lasts about 3-4 months, from like December through February. But by the end of February, you're gonna you're gonna be ready for spring. And look, you think spring is here, and then it snows again. So it doesn't really start getting really nice until like April. Okay, so brutally cold for like January and February for sure, and then the rest of the year, spring, summer, and fall, is absolutely amazing. So great weather in spring, summer, and fall, but the biggest negative for sure of living here is definitely the brutal winters that we have. And look, there's no getting around it. They're brutal. So that's just the way it is. So there you go. Those are some of the biggest negatives about living in Ankeny. So look, if you're a local, maybe you have lived here in the past, let me know what are some of the things that drive you crazy about living in Ankeny that maybe I didn't mention. There's a couple of little things that I didn't mention, but let me know in the comments what you think are horrible things about this area. I'd love to talk to you about it. But look, if those things aren't that bad for you, and you think you can deal with it, and you're still looking to move here, look, give me a call. I'd love to help. I'd be happy to help you make a smooth move to the Des Moines area or Ankeny. And so give me a call and we can get together. Can't wait to meet you. And hey, look, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it.